Game started.
Okay, Elliot WW starts off with D4. Let's try D5. Okay, goes with Bishop F4. So I get to try my system against the London system. The thing about the London system, notice how quickly he's moving here. He has just bunches of moves that he can play without regard to what I'm playing, and he's going to play them. Okay, so he plays with the active C4. That's not a typical London system idea. So that means I can go into a semi-Slav here. I do want to keep this square protected, so if he trades, I'll take back with the E pawn. Should be okay though. Let's start with the bishop move. See if he wants to trade the bishop off. No, he wants to keep on attacking. Yeah, the queen is pinning the c pawn. But actually, I was going to take back with the e pawn anyway, so let's just castle here. And get away from any tricks on that diagonal after knight to... I mean, there's some weird knight sacrifice here on b5, I don't know. So anytime I take this bishop, he gets an extra pawn here influencing the e5 square. So how about if I take with the knight at least? That should be worth something. Maybe that'll convince him to to take my bishop now, because I am threatening to win a pawn. Okay, so he drops back. I'll take with the knight, and he gets an open h-file. That's his compensation for giving up the bishop pair. And so I need to get some pieces quickly over to the king side. Help defend along the h-file. Yeah, he's already looking at that. I'm going to put the knight there first. I'm going to play h6 probably at some point to relieve the pressure along the h-file, but maybe I'll put it off for a while. And I have to play it now, it looks like. But at least he doesn't have a dark squared bishop that he can sacrifice here. So let's think about this position. How about if I take the pawn here? He'll have to take back with some piece, rather, the knight or the bishop, and he'll pull some piece away from his attack. The bishop. Now I need to find a role for my light squared bishop. Let's see, I could trade off the knight first. Pawn takes, and then bring the knight to this file. Bring the knight to... yeah, let's try this. See if he's tempted to trade off my knight here. This weakens the king a little bit. So this is a dubious, or a questionable decision. You could look at it. Okay, so he decides to leave the knight there and just try and pin it. So I was going to try and bring my queen up. Okay, and he's just moved his king to a slightly safer location. I'm going to kick that bishop now. I don't know if it has a lot of good squares, so I'm expecting it might just take, and this gives me a couple squares for my bishop, and also gives me the opportunity to bring a rook over here to a central file. Pushing pawns towards his king also is not a bad idea. This may turn into an attack at some point. So we'll see what he does. He's at least slowed down to think now. Always a good sign. I'm a little bit worried about these pawns coming forward and kicking my queen around. So he decided to go that way. Okay, so let's trade off the knight. Place the bishop on b7. Now I can get a rook to the d file. Yeah, and my queen has to run back here, so I do have to be cautious. I can, okay, he's just going to double. He's going to double on the h file. Let's see, what can I do about this? It's such a simple plan. let's see, I can start with f5 maybe. This will block the diagonal of the bishop. Yeah, if he allows it to stand. And the two knights by themselves are not that scary. The two rooks, rather. He can sacrifice both rooks, but if his other pieces can't get in. I'm opening up a line for my bishop. The bishop is looking at these good squares here. I can maybe place it on e4, d5. I can bring a rook to the center. This rook is useful in case he wants to try and exchange a pawn here. I want to be able to take back with a pawn supported by the rook. So I will bring the other rook into the game. And maybe even double. Is it possible to double somewhere on that file? There is a check here with the bishop. Let's go ahead and activate that bishop. And let's put a rook on the d file. Maybe bishop to. Yeah, that's what I thought. He might just come in here with a pawn. So I can take that. He's got another pawn coming though. Yeah, I really want to find a way to double. Let's try this. Well, let's think about it. If I play it, it takes 1, 2, 3 moves to get a rook down to the 7th rank. I am hitting a loose bishop. But in 3 moves, 1, he pushes a pawn, 2, I double, he takes, 3, I hit the bishop, and he takes again and is threatening to mate me over here in the corner. Oh, I do have a queen defending against the 2 rooks. And where can my rook go? Hey, let's try this. It's kind of a race, which a lot of these conditions sometimes are. So my idea was to place the rook here, threatening his bishop. And if he takes the pawn, to take back with the queen. Rook here, check. Just leads to a trade of a queen for 2 rooks. Check. And so he goes for that.
Check.
So I have 2 rooks versus a bishop, and 2 rooks and a bishop versus a queen and a bishop, and he did win a pawn. His bishop is still hanging, and his king is not safe, so he gives up the bishop. I don't know if he had to do that. Maybe he did. Maybe he had to do that. So when I take the bishop, the queen can come in here, but there's no... I just have to watch out for these little sneaky double attacks. Queens are so good at that. He can win a pawn. He can attack here. I can check.
Check.
To drive his king to the corner. I can check with the bishop.
Check.
And he can't move the pawn because it's pinned. Yeah, so he has to give up the queen. That is certainly not going to be a good idea for white. He can resign at any time now.
White resigns.
And look, he still has 7 minutes on his clock. Anyway, I think that was a pretty good example of how to fight off a slightly unsound attack. I'll upload that and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.